where you live.
21 plus, 18 plus in D.C. Must be located in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Michigan, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West.
Welcome into the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome to the Basketball Postgame Show. I'm Jake Bachman, Big Sky running the boards, producing for us, and of course, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet Eric Strickland joining us as well to wrap up the Nebraska postgame show here as Nebraska did win 88-74 over Kennesaw State, and it was a pretty performance, I think, on offense. Finally, we can all breathe a nice sigh of relief. We have some good basketball to talk about. I'm not sure if the quality of the opponent is what you're going to see in the next month, but it's a good start for Nebraska in what I was kind of deeming a get-right game for them. Hopefully it carries into the next game, but tonight looked like a get-right game. We'd like to hear from you. Honda of Lincoln Hotline, 402-464-5685, or hit us up on the Starter Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. But, of course, we also want to hear from the Husker Hall of Famer himself, Eric Strickland. Eric, how you doing tonight? What'd you see out there from the Huskers?
Well, let me just say, I can put a smile on my face. It's good to see that they got it going again tonight. But also, I would venture to say it got off to a very, very rocky start, and so it was a little worrying the way they started the game. So they were able to kind of settle in, figure some things out. They got after it defensively. And then I would like to say that Alonzo Verge showed me a lot tonight. If he plays that way, then I think they'll do well and they'll win some games. He was under control. He was poised. Yes, he did have some turnovers. Few of them were bad. Some of them were just kind of, they happen. But the assist numbers tonight and the shot numbers is where I think he needs to be, anywhere between 8 to 11, depending on how he's got it going. And he got his people involved. He got his team involved. Then you find Tamanaga got it going. So the numbers show tonight. Those are some things we talked about with regard to the recipe. We'll dig into, I'm sure, in the hour. But other than that, it was good to see them. I mean, the kid on Burden on the other side, too, was absolutely phenomenal. That's a great find for Kennesaw State. I mean, if he jumped in the portal, I'm sure somebody would take a kid like that. The kid just plays the game the way it's supposed to be, and he was very active. There's no one that can keep him in front. And Verge is a very good defender. Kobe's a very good defender. Tamanaga's okay, but he just seemed like he can get anywhere he wanted to. And so other than that, they did well. I think the rebounding numbers, again, is very disappointing against this Kennesaw team because it can be worse when you look at the Big Ten games that they're going to have to face. So they've got to work that number. They just can't allow a team like this. I mean, that was the one thing I saw early on, and they just can't allow a team like this to just out rebound you by almost 10. Actually by 11. So those are some of the things that I saw, but we'll dig more into it and get more detailed as we get into the show.
Yeah, it's almost as if the rebounds are just like, it's going to be tough to come by, and maybe you could see some more effort in there. They did get, kind of a
that's a great word, Bach. Yeah. Effort. That's where it comes from, bro. That's a great word, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they still have a ways to grow from there, but I still think that they did make their strides. Again, I don't know if Kennesaw State's the best team. Like you said, Burden probably might have an argument for being one of the best players out there, the best stat line of the night, even though Verge had his own very impressive stat line, close to a triple-double. But it was just kind of a fun game to watch because Nebraska, it seemed like, and at times, like you said, the beginning of the game was rocky. The second half wasn't completely, they weren't running, like a 4-cylinder car there, but they got it going there for a second. Like the corner three. I mean, what else can you say about it? We've been waiting all year for Nebraska to finally show that they have these shooters, and tonight it showed. 15 of 29 from the field, 55, close to 56% on the evening. That was the first half and the second half. I think the first half they were 9 of 17, so that was like 53%. So it was even throughout the game, and it was because of the quality of looks that they were getting. And like you're saying, Alonzo Verge helping to set many of those up in the first half. But, you know, kind of whether it's Tominaga or Mayan or even Verge himself, Lakes, I mean, they got going especially in the corner. And I wanted to ask you about that, because I know there's a big difference in kind of what a basketball player can bring to the table if they can hit that corner three, and certainly for what a team can bring to the table if they can hit that corner three, kind of open up spacing quite a bit.
Absolutely. And the way that it was created tonight was in two ways. One, we talked about on not only on your show, but we talked about on the show last night, on the Strict 9 show, we talked about the part of pushing and probing. What Verge did tonight was phenomenal in that he didn't over penetrate or he didn't over dribble. So he got to the spot, he created the help, and he delivered the ball. And those are nice rhythm, great shots that you can take. And those are a lot of the ones. And then you also saw the second part of it was getting it inside to Walker, whether it be on the pick and roll or whether it be from an entry pass or whether it be from him finding himself in the middle of the paint and him kicking it out. And then you're getting a good shot off of that. And they were hitting them. Wilcher was hitting them. Tominaga was hitting them. Mayan got going early, fell off a little bit. Tominaga, all of them were getting those open looks off of that penetration. Now, so here's the difference between tonight and a good Big Ten team. You're playing Kennesaw State. It's one of the worst defensive teams by the numbers in the league. They're like they're like 300 and something out of percentages for the opposing team. And so they're very bad defensive team. Okay. So you can have two touch passes that you find an open shot with a bad team, right? Two touch passes. What I mean by that for the listeners is you can have a drive, a one pass, and then something else. That's what you found on the pick and roll. So that's the one pass. And then the second pass is the second touch, right? Good teams, you're going to need 3 to 5 touch. Minimum 3. That would be the pick and roll or the drive penetration, the kick out, the next drive, the kick, and then the next pass. That's where so to get the same looks that you got tonight. Huh?
That's where you find the guy in the corner again. Yeah.
Right. But it's not gonna be that one and then good teams. No, it's not gonna happen that way. That's where the discipline has to come in, and that's why I was proud of what Fred did early, because it set the tone for them having good shots as you got later into the first half, and then also going into the second half. That's where the good shots he took. He took Tominaga out. He took Bryce McGowan out. Wilcher took a good 3 because that was a penetration drive and a kick to the top, so he didn't get to come out. But everybody that you found was taking badge, to include Verge at one point, he got him out early. And so he set the tone for what was to come of a good shooting night tonight by discipline.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see. I mean, because that's kind of what Hoiberg said going into this game, is that was going to happen, and we've kind of been waiting for these adjustments and kind of, you know, just kind of pushing the right buttons from Hoiberg. And to do that with Tominaga and McGowan's, we were kind of left wondering going into this game is he just saying that, or what does that mean? You know, who still has the green light? And if anybody has the green light on this team, it's Tominaga and McGowan's. And so it was kind of cool to send that message early. And it wasn't, you know, it's like it never has to be. Like sometimes when we talk about replacing quarterback, especially, and that's going to football, but we could get into this whole thing of, you know, that it's just this permanent thing and that other guy will never go back. Sometimes it's just to take them out, to tell them, hey, you're not untouchable here. We need, you know, we're going to need you to work as a team. And so, in the basketball instance, they got right back in. Tominaga had one of his best nights as a Husker. And McGowan's got going too and was allowed to take. The one thing I am interested as I, kind of process the information is McGowan's going to be allowed to take those really long distance NBA threes? Because he's continued to do that throughout the night and didn't get pulled eventually. And I wonder if that's just something that McGowan's maybe is partially kind of working on. He's made it clear he wants to be a one and done type of guy. Do you think that that's something that he wants to continue pushing, and that's kind of maybe something in recruiting that you want to allow him to keep doing? Or do you think that that's just enough of a quality shot that he should keep taking it?
I would advise against it, because it doesn't matter. A team will know and recognize that you have range. So you don't have to show them in a game situation that you have range. There's enough scouting. What they want to be able to see is that you can consistently shoot, so taking those shots is only going to put yourself in a position, especially if it's not good enough. If it's a good shot and you've got the range and you can make that, then okay. But if it's a bad one, off of like what he did earlier in the game, I would advise against it. I think some things that you saw for Bryce that are going to be a detriment to him being a one and done, getting into the lottery type of one and done.
Right.
He could be. I think he could probably, just off his abilities and potential upside, would definitely probably get into the second round. As I look at it now, I don't see him as a first round player at this particular stature in his game, and that's okay. He's still young. He's still got time. And an example of that would be what I saw. It was probably it was in the second half, I think. He had a situation. I can explain the situation. You may be able to remember. It was about 14-minute mark. And what we found is McGowan's, we talked about him being straight up, right?
Yeah.
We talked about how he plays high. We saw that on a couple times where he was driving to the basket. He got an offensive foul because he tried to use leverage instead of using strength and being low to be able to beat the guy. Because once you get a head and shoulder by a guy, if you're low, there's nothing he can do with you. If you're standing up, then a slight bump, throws you off balance. You may not be able to take the same shot. You definitely got no mid-range because you're not able to elevate, because you'd have to drop and then raise. So he tried to do what they call a rip and go, right? But he was too straight up. And he ends up losing the ball. He ends up falling on his face, and it ends up being a turnover, right?
Yeah.
Those are things that scouts are looking for when, just different types of things of that nature, because you're not going to be able to get those as foul calls when you're in college they could call that a foul, but in the NBA, nah. You get a little nudge, a little bump. I mean, they don't like hands, but the players are strong enough with hips and shoulders and arms and stuff like that to not allow you to be able to make those types of moves if you're straight up. So those are some things that I'd see, but he definitely still played with poise, for the most part. He's played under control. They made the extra pass earlier in the half. I saw a 5-play combination for a corner three that was open. He just missed it. And you as a coach, you can just say, you know what, I'm okay with that. So, those are some things we see, and definitely Walker's numbers. I'd like to see a few more, but I think he did. I think he got to that 8 to 10 shots because he had 3 free throws as well. So, you can add a couple of free throws that were shot attempts but not counted because it's all obviously a free throw, except the and one situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I don't know if McGowan's had his best game tonight, but I want to continue talking about him because obviously he's fascinating. We got to take a quick break, but when we come back around the corner, I want to dive into ask you about if you've played with players that have been straight up and how long it kind of takes them to adjust to that, because I think you're right on that. I think that's something he's going to have to adjust to. But we got Tominaga Mania, Doc Sadler wearing a green sweater, Red Panda was there, all sorts of fun tonight from Tank Arena as Nebraska Nebraska beats Kennesaw State 88-74. We'll have more coming up next year on the post-game show for basketball on 93.7 The Ticket.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too, and that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more. When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it. We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors. Whether they are in the mountains of New Mexico, the plains of Nebraska and Kansas, the ranches of Oklahoma and Texas, the farmlands of Missouri and Arkansas, or the bayous of Louisiana, we are here for our hometowns. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric always makes safety a top priority for our home and office. In under just 1 hour, their team installed the state-of-the-art air scrubber system directly into our existing HVAC ductwork. This technology purifies the air and reduces exposure to common bacteria and viruses, creating a safer breathing environment for my family. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The past year and a half has been a challenge. We've been reminded of the importance of following health and safety guidance from medical experts. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the NSCA. As teachers, our goal is to keep our schools open and our students in the classroom, because we know in-person teaching and learning is best for our students. We need your help to keep our kids healthy and learning.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
The Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council present the story of Cynthia and Ed.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, out of the blue, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn or just stay at the stop sign. She wasn't even really sure where she was at. She was very concerned. It was very unsettling for her.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it, to bring the family in on it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Snarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, Head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Welcome into the Ticket's basketball postgame show. Featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three. He's going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is the Nebraska basketball postgame show here on 93.7 The Ticket. Eric Strickland, of course, the former Nebraska basketball great. Still a Nebraska basketball great. That, you can never take that away from him. And also a longtime NBA player joining us to break down the Huskers' 88-74 win over Kennesaw State. Nebraska improves to 6-7 on the year. And of course, our friend DP, who's usually on the post-game show, out enjoying himself in New York. But I know as an ode to him, we at least better run through the scores before we get into too much talking, or the stats, I should say, for Nebraska basketball. Nebraska was led by Tamanaga tonight, 18 points. He kind of caught fire from beyond the arc, 4 of 7 on the game, 7 of 12 overall from the floor for Tamanaga tonight. So he led them in the scoring column, led overall probably by Alonzo Verge, who was pretty close to a triple-double, 16 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds, also 7 turnovers. So again, he's been more turnover prone the last couple of games, but also making it happen with a career high 12 assists there. But the production elsewhere was basically from everybody. Everybody got in the action tonight. Bryce McGowan's had 11 and 4. Derek Walker also with 11 and 4 rebounds as well. The other starter tonight, Lat Main, hit a couple threes to get 6 points on the board. Trevor Lakes from out of nowhere with 8 points tonight. He was 1 of 6 entering tonight's game. He hit a couple threes and finished 3 of 5 from the floor. 8 points for CJ Wilcher, 3 of his own there. 6 points for Kobe Webster, 3 for Eduardo Andre, and 1 for Keon Edwards coming there at the end. But to get back to our conversation, I did want to continue about Bryce McGowan's, because it is the story of this year. Certainly, hopefully, won't fall all onto the Bryce McGowan's developing thing. Hopefully, the wins can pile up for Nebraska, so we can talk more about that. But it is interesting to see the young man develop. Again, maybe not the best game tonight out there from him, but still developing. And something that we've been watching is Strick, you've been saying he's standing, kind of playing up too straight. And you can kind of see it out there where if he kind of got lower, he can use his athleticism a little bit more and kind of learn to leverage himself. Have you played with players that have kind of had that similar problem, and how long does it take to adjust to that? I mean, is it a simple fix, or is it going to take some time?
Well, first you have to be able to acknowledge it and see it, and you have to have someone to see it and be able to teach it. And teach it from a standpoint of understanding, because what happens is if you try to change someone or change someone's style, what'll end up happening is they may rebel, right? So if you try to change someone, like somebody may have a bad or awkward shooting style, i.e. Lonzo Ball, right? Who had been used to coming from across his face all his life, but now actually has a good stroke. Because he had to finally, but it didn't happen right away, because he didn't do it in college. And then it had to get to the NBA to where there was inconsistencies, and you understand that you have to have some consistency in order to be successful in that league. Otherwise, the scouting reports will eat you up. And so he had to adapt that. So therefore, you have to acknowledge it. You have to then go watch probably some film on it, and then give them understanding as to why it makes it different, because you want to go to the next level, right? Here's why it makes sense to do this. Here's what you'll be able to do. And have some film ready on individuals like Michael Jordan or individuals like Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? But Kevin Durant's an anomaly. Even though he looks like he plays up, he doesn't. You know, he's low, right? You want some Tracy McGrady. People that have that similar body type to him, and show them why, like a Tracy McGrady or a Vince Carter or someone of that similar stature, it make sense for you to play low. because then when you drive to the basket, when you need to elevate and you need to finish, or watch your brother. Your brother plays very low, and when he gets by you classic on that first one, he may be putting you in the rim. It's because he's low and ready to bounce. So that's just a little observation.
Yeah, I've kind of seen that too. So I think we'll see him probably develop that, and we'll see how much of that. He's
Ja
working
Morant's
on.
another one, Bach. Ja Morant,
Yeah.
watch Ja Morant.
He gets real low, doesn't he?
Ja Morant give you that thing. Yeah.
Oh
that
yeah.
part.
Yeah, what do you think about by the way, there's some Memphis fans booing him because they've been doing better without him. I mean, how do you do that to you finally get a big asset, and now you have some silly fans bothering him about it?
That would be the worst thing you could do, is to run that kid like that out of a small market team.
Know.
Yeah, it'd be the worst thing you can do. You want him to be, Bach, you want him to be Damian Lillard, right? Damian could have been gone from Portland a long time ago, but he showed a lot of integrity. He showed a lot of stick and stay, and he was going to stick it out and see it through. That'd be the worst thing you do, is run a kid like Ja Morant off.
I did want to ask you, since we're on basketball, I did want to ask you tonight. I know you played for my Celtics, a big fan of the Celtics, and you helped them get to the Eastern Division Conference Finals one year. And I believe it was the same year that ISO Joe was on the Celtics. He was there for a brief period of time, and now the man's back in the league tonight with the Celtics. I love to see it at 40 years old, coming off some big three MVPs. But that's one of the most frustrating things as a Celtics fan when you look back at the trades to get rid of Joe Johnson, who maybe could have grown up along with Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker there at the time. Could you see it with Joe in his rookie year, or was there a reason it wasn't quite sprouted that way, and they decided to trade him?
No nonsense, Joe. That's how he started off, right?
Yeah.
He just played with just this la da da la da da. But you could tell he was gonna be a phenomenal player. I mean, if you just really just look into the kid and what he's got, you could tell he was going to be good. But he had something that it didn't really fit with the like, for example, we used to call the garden the jungle. He didn't seem to fit with that.
Freestyle.
He was, he didn't seem to fit with that, gritty, that grimy, that get in the dirt, get in the trenches type of game that we were playing at the time. So I think they gave up a little too early on him. You know what I mean? And here's why: because he and Joe Forte were very similar in their just the way they're, it's what it seemed like. And so because of that, Bach, that I think they just kind of just said, you know what, let's see if we can get something for him, type of deal. And they had Kedrick Brown. I knew he wasn't, he was just very athletic, and I think they had like 3 first-round picks that year. And I think they got Joe Forte at the end.
Yeah.
And so it was, they felt they had too many.
Joe Forte was always one of my favorites. Were you there when you brought a Lakers jersey to the Celtics game?
I used to try to tell the kid, I'm like, man, see, that's what happens sometimes when you come from a tremendous program like North Carolina, and then you find yourself as a rookie, and they're making you got to come early. You got to do work, extra work, stay early. You got to play the game. You got to learn that this is now a business, baby. It ain't nothing personal. It's a business. And so what would end up happening is he was just kind of whatever. And then when he'd get his shot, he wouldn't be ready. So, because it'd be like, hey, Joe, and he'd go in, and then he would be trying to get it off, but he hadn't worked. He hadn't worked at pace. He worked at nonchalant. And so when you get in the speed, it just didn't work out for him. So she was out of the league in 4 years, I think.
Yeah. He's All-American at North Carolina. So but Anyway, we better get back to modern day Nebraska basketball again. With Eric Strickland, it's always fun to check in on some of those NBA players. Again, with ISO Joe getting hit in the league, I thought it was kind of cool to talk about one of his former teammates. But again, Nebraska with an 88-74 win over Kennesaw State. How much do you think of this can move to the Big Ten? I mean, how much of this was because it's beautiful to watch, like you said, at times, but that defense, I mean, they dared Alonzo Verge to shoot from inside the free throw line. They wouldn't even come toward him. They're saying,
scouting report.
Shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting, but they also like you said, it's kind of that 2-pass thing or kind of that where Trevor Lakes is just kind of trailing and nobody picks him up. Tamanaga even did that. You have to know about Tamanaga in the scouting report. So how much of this do you think is Kennesaw State, where Nebraska started to get their offense going and looked pretty and hit all those threes? Or how much of this is Nebraska working on that, because it looked to be more movement and it looked like there was more of a better point guard element out of Verge tonight. So is it a combination of those things?
I think it was a multi-prong. Thing. One, it was good that it was a Kennesaw State, because then you can do multiple things. You can then use discipline, because you kind of know that you're a better team, right? You can enforce your discipline. You can also get them to operate within the scope of the game plan. Then you get them to get the looks, because they're a bad defensive team. So now you're getting a little bit more confidence about yourself in those different areas. And then you get to watch some good film on why you need to play this way, and then why this has to be a progression. It can't be a regression. It can't go back, because don't get to smelling yourself and thinking that, we can just come out and it's just going to be hunky dory and easy peasy. It's not going to be like that. Now you've got to train the progression, and you watch film on an Ohio State. You break down the film. You see where their defensive weaknesses are. Do they close out strong? Are they very good at rotations? What do they like to do in the post? You watch all of those different things, and then you finally scheme off and talk to your team about what is the ways that we're going to get our shots. It's not going to be this, and you can show a contrast. Kennesaw State, here, this is what happened. Contrast of what it needs to look like. So then you'll show that you saw that they had a shot a couple times, but guys were running at them real hard. They shot fake, they drove, went to the next progression, right? So you have to show that you've got to get to that 3 to 5 touch in order to get a good shot. Yeah. This same shot can come, but it ain't gonna come in a 2 touch. It's not gonna come that way. So
I mean, it was at least a good start for him to get it going regardless. Yeah. I mean, it's a good scheduled game. It was a get right game, and it was a start to it, I think. And, it's the kind of effort and the kind of offense that you just kind of seen, at times it's just kind of stagnant when Verge really just does penetrate too deep, and it kind of gets lost and he wants to force up a shot. Whereas tonight it was kind of an idea to move the ball around, get several guys touching the ball, and maybe it would start to set something up. I'd like to see that, because even if it doesn't get you a great shot, at least you're having given it a try for more than just relying all the way on Verge all game long. Certainly there were possessions where he would push it, and that's still what you want out of a player of his capabilities. So just kind of a little bit better of a balance, I thought, about that tonight. And I think Nebraska fans can be excited or can feel good, even if you lose a game with that type of offense, if they move the ball around. Now, it wasn't all pretty. They still had 17 turnovers. Definitely need to clean up on that. But it looked better going into conference play. Let me run through the month of January for Nebraska as it stands right now. Their next game is against number 14 Ohio State. After that, they have at number 11 Michigan State. Then they have at Rutgers, same team that beat number 3 Purdue in their building. Then they have Illinois, who had a preseason All-American, Kofi Coburn. He's going to be a lot to deal with. Then they have at Purdue, that number 3 team I was talking about. Against Indiana, the team that already beat them. At Ohio State, the number 14 team in the nation. And then against Wisconsin, the number 24 team in the nation. And then finally, you get Rutgers, who, like we said, already beat Purdue, but at least you get them at their house. And then you get to play at Michigan on February 1st, who we've already seen it has outmatched Nebraska in the past. I mean, if you look at all that is a grind if I've ever heard of one.
Gauntlet.
I'd have to think maybe they're favored that Rutgers game at home. But other than that, I don't think they're favored this month.
It's a gauntlet. It's definitely a gauntlet. And I would be challenging my team. Like, okay, you guys dropped the ball early on. You gave up the ghost. You played world be free, easy about the way you were handling your business with no discipline. You get discipline right now. And I would challenge them, look them dead in their eyes. They're no better than Auburn. They're no better than NC State. But at the end of the day, if you run this gauntlet, you take care of every one of these home games, you go into one of these and play like you did against NC State, you run this gauntlet, you never know how you may fare when you jump into the top 25, and we may make a run at this thing. You know what I mean? We're only 0-2 in conference. You can actually turn this thing around. You got to run through this gauntlet. Do you have the heart? I look them dead in their face. Do you have the heart to take this challenge, or are you gonna lay down and get knocked out like Mike Tyson or something? Remember how you used to walk in the ring with Mike Tyson back in the day? You maybe were too young, but back in the day,
a little bit like,
you were young, but back in the day, man, when people used to walk in the ring with Mike Tyson, they would literally bow out. It was already done until a couple of people took the challenge, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "I don't care who you are, I'm in this." And they took him the distance, or they took him to the long haul, or they even knocked him out in some instances, right?
Yeah.
So if they can do that and look them in the face in this time, they can change the whole dynamic. And everybody and their mama will forget what happened in the beginning of the season, right? That's how I would challenge them.
I like that because I think they're not going to hear a whole lot of that outside of the locker room, right? Like I just said, they're not going to be favored, and they're going to be hearing right now, okay, well, that was just Kennesaw State or whatever. But you need to build and take this, take this little momentum you have. You're just coming off a 5-game losing streak. You have finally something to build with. And it wasn't just a win. I mean, I think there was certainly a chance that Nebraska was going to win tonight, and we were going to walk away going, yeah, but I don't know if much has changed. I mean, they did gut that one out, but I
didn't see that.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Things where they're kind of maybe turning a corner. Certainly by far their best shooting performance of the night, of the season, which is something we've been told was in them for a long time. I just feel like, and Hoiberg's been saying it all year. Well, some of those are good shots. Those were the best shots I've seen all year. I mean, as far as a lot of just open, offense, moving of the ball, finding the open man. And so again, it might not be as easy against the better opponents that you're about to play, but that's the idea. I mean, that's what you're looking for. And now they see that's the results if you get that type of shot open.
Let me give you an example, okay, of what I'm talking about, so we can just really put it into perspective. And we'll talk about your favorite team. When I was with the Celtics, one of the things that the us as players were hearing coming out of media day was that we were the second to the last, if not the last, best team in the East. Okay.
Yeah.
We all had chips on our shoulders, and we were all dogs in our own little way, right? Kenny Anderson, straight out of NY. Eric Williams, New Jersey, grimy, me, Tony Batiste, straight out of South Dallas, Paul Pierce out of Inglewood, Twan out of Southside. I mean, listen, we was all, even though I came from Nebraska, I was still a dog about mine, right?
Yeah,
we all looked at that.
Omaha too.
Yeah, man, we all looked at that, and we said, what? We said, man, you kidding me? Vitaly Potapinko, out of the Russian Federation. I mean, we all were just like, are you, what, really? This how you, okay. And we all took it on ourselves individually and collectively. And we said, we're going to beat the brakes off people when we see them. You know what I mean? And we ended up with the second best record in the, that's what I'm trying to say. If the dog is in this team, that's how I would challenge them. I'd look them in their face and just say, what you want to be. Do you want to be the puppy, the poodle, or do you want to be the pit bull? Which one you want to be? I mean, Almost cursed.
Yeah.
But no, for real, that's how I would look them in their face, man. But that's the moment that they in right now. They need something, a surge or somebody to pose a challenge in the locker room.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, you can look at that, and I listed it out, and it sounded daunting. But I mean, if you have that dog in you, then you see those challenges and see them as opportunities. Because how, like you said earlier, how much can this all be flipped around if they just beat number 14 Ohio State their next time out? Then you have a top 10, 15 victory. You're fighting closer to 500 overall, fighting closer to 500 in Big Ten play. You're right back in the thick of things with the quality victory. You just, it's time to take that next step.
Absolutely. I mean, it's no other way to say it. And, you use this as a building block, but you use the mountaintop that you want to climb. Are you going to stop at the base of Mount Everest and give up and give in? Or do you want to sit on the peak? I mean, that's really what it comes down to, my guy.
He's Eric Strickland, Husker Hall of Famer, long-time NBA vet. Strick, we probably kept you up past your bedtime again, or at least past your radio time here.
I enjoy it.
We got to get Connor Happer's reaction from over at Pinnacle Bank Arena, so we're going to go ahead and let you go, but thanks for your time and insight tonight.
Always a pleasure. I'll see you guys soon. All right,
sounds good. There he goes, Eric Strickland of Husker Hoops. We will be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket. Like we said, Connor Happer live at Pinnacle Bank Arena. He watched the game. We'll get his thoughts. He was at the post-game press conference with Fred Hoiberg, and he even saw Red Panda perform live twice today. So a lot to break down with Connor Happer. That's coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric ensures our home and office HVAC systems run smoothly throughout the year to provide maximum comfort and convenience. Routine maintenance reduced our operating costs just by improving the efficiency of our unit. Consider a maintenance agreement to ensure you too receive priority for services and scheduling. This helps meet manufacturer warranty requirements. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
You want to feel important. You want to be a part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things. You want to feel like you belong. We know. We felt that way too, and that's why we did something about it. We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you. But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more. When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it. We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors. Whether they are in the mountains of New Mexico, the plains of Nebraska and Kansas, the ranches of Oklahoma and Texas, the farmlands of Missouri and Arkansas, or the bayous of Louisiana, we are here for our hometowns. And together, we can make a difference. Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Nebraska Army National Guard, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association at this station.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
You might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
As an 18-year-old, I let my mistakes kind of take over my life. I was 0.5 credits away from completing high school, and I didn't do it.
10 years later, at age 28, Jackie finished her high school diploma.
When I found out that I was pregnant, I know that I had to do something for myself if I wanted to make her a better person and provide a better life for her. My family never stopped pushing for me to be better because they knew what I could become and who I could become as a person. My support team is amazing. The educational director, my sister, and even my 7-year-old daughter has just been more than the support that I could ask for. I've been given an opportunity, and I'm just thankful for it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Back to the Tickets Basketball Postgame Show, featuring Derek Pearson and former Husker and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Happy holiday season to everybody out there. This is the basketball postgame show brought to you by Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric. So we're excited to partner with them to bring you this postgame show. Of course, Eric Strickland, we had to let him go. I mean, great stories, great insight. But I mean, it must be getting late. I never know where in the world is Eric Strickland is always a question that we can ask. So I don't know if he's on the East Coast. Maybe he's got to get to bed soon. So we went ahead and let him go. Of course, we have to get to Connor Happer, who was at Pinnacle Bank Arena tonight and at the Fred Hoiberg's post-game press conference. So we'll ask all about that. But of course, the bigger question is which Red Panda performance was better today, at the women's game or at the men's game?
Oh, wow. Wasn't even close. The men's game was flawless. The women's game there was some spillage, and it was quite jarring. And I respect Red Panda. My respect for Red Panda has gone up a lot since this afternoon because to recover the display of mental fortitude after. I mean, I'm not kidding. She was up on that unicycle trying to get she tried to flip the five bowl challenge up probably 3 or 4 times this afternoon. Just couldn't do it. She had to, she couldn't finish her show. She was like apologizing to the crowd.
Oh no.
It was a very sad scene this afternoon. But then to hop back up on that unicycle on the same court and get the job done tonight was truly incredible.
I was wondering, there's usually a rule of in media, no cheering, but now that's usually for teams. So, but the halftime acts, maybe you can, but I mean, I saw you were maybe leading, but the whole group of the media there was really into it, really cheering Red Panda on there at the end. So I now understand more better the story throughout the day.
Exactly. How could you not root for that? It's just a great success story. Regardless of who it is, you pull for a person who hops back up on the proverbial unicycle.
That's right,
and can get the job done.
So great story from Red Panda throughout the day. Also great story for Nebraska basketball today, women's and men's. But here specifically right now, talking about the men's getting the win against Kennesaw State tonight, 88-74. And we'll get Fred Hoiberg's thoughts from you here in a second. But what were your thoughts for the night? The offense certainly seemed to flow better.
Yeah, I thought it was. They took a bit of a punch early. I mean, they weren't getting much to go down. I was a little curious about some of the shot selection early, but they stuck to it. And then once a couple went down, everything felt a lot easier for them. And that doesn't mean you have no issues and everything's fixed or anything like that. I thought it was a really big Alonzo Verge game. You saw it in the assist totals. He had 12 of them, but I mean, I thought he made a lot of plays for a lot of people tonight, and not just on his 12 assists. He had a lot of passes that ended up in assists, probably 3 or 4 of those as well. Making simple plays, letting the game come to him. I thought that was really good. And then I think guys knocking down shots. I thought the shot quality was much better tonight. I think one of the new things they want to do is run a little bit through Derek Walker and get him post touches. And I think he's a phenomenal decision maker. For what he lacks going up against some of the Big Ten size and skill and athleticism, he makes up for in basketball IQ, and he's one of the team's best passers, and he's a really good decision maker, makes plays for other people, and can take it by himself. Especially in a situation like tonight where Kennesaw State's not a great post defense team. But so everything was good tonight. I thought everything checked out. Not so great on the offensive board. But that's common. It was a good go into the break game, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly, and maybe, I mean, by far the best shooting night for Nebraska. I think the offense flowed, a lot of corner threes, a lot of finding the guy open, a lot of passing. So just kind of what Nebraska fans have been hoping for, to see some semblance of an offense, and it certainly helps when some of those shots are falling. But I still think too, like, it's not, and Fred's been saying all along that they've had some good open looks, but tonight was a little bit different. And I think part of that's Kennesaw State's defense, but part of it might be part of the recipe moving forward for Nebraska. Do you think part of the recipe is for Verge to shoot a little bit more? It's kind of interesting as far as 3-point attempts go, and he hit a couple step back ones. He's only been averaging 1.8 3-point attempts per game this year. He averaged 3.5 last year and was hitting 33% of them. And it looked like at times this year he's kind of been hesitant to take them. Tonight he wasn't so hesitant. What do you think? That's just maybe feeding off the energy of the other guys, or is there a little bit there for Alonzo Verge? Never to be a great 3-point shooter, but you can't just accidentally shoot 33% from beyond the arc, throwing up 3 or 4 a game.
Yeah, that's true. It's a nice safety. It's a nice safety net to have, I think. Not going to be your first option, but he's used to making plays for himself. He's used to getting his shot, so it's a thing that he can do. I don't know if that's ultimately the shot that they want at the end of the day. But it's good to have a capable shooter in that position. But his first responsibility is to kind of distribute and make plays for other people. And if he can be a threat from the 3-point line, then that's even more firepower for Nebraska to go after. So yeah, I'm curious to see what that looks like going forward, but I don't know if it's ever going to be like your primary thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was just looking into the stats there and kind of noticed that he's a better 3-point. Like, I think Nebraska fans and myself kind of including before looking into it, kind of just look at it as, oh, he can't shoot the 3 very well. Well, he has in the past shot okay. Again, 33% is not fantastic, but it'd be like leading the team going into tonight. Right. So I think that's just a weapon that he has that we haven't quite seen yet. But it's certainly not. It's not what you're going to lean on. But for some of those other guys that have to lean on that, I mean, Tominaga finding some good shots tonight. Lat Main even hitting a few. It was like everybody got in the end of the action. Trevor Lake's hitting in one before the end of the buzzer there, and 2 total for the night. Do you think that he looks like a piece that they can use moving forward? Or again, do you think that it might be harder against the tougher competition to get him in there?
You mean Lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They've been him and Edwards, Keon Edwards, have been just weird in terms of minutes this year. They just seem like they're a little further behind a couple of the other options that they want to have there. And they're both capable shooters, Lake's for sure. And if your deal is like, we want to, if we're going to have a chance in these games, we got to really shoot the heck out of the ball, then your answer to that is probably Lake instead of Edwards. Edwards gives you a little bit more athleticism, but even those 5 games, I think he started 5 games there in a row and they won against lower quality competition. And even in that game, Edwards only played, about average of 10 minutes, I think, through that time. So yeah, I can see Lake getting into that competition a little bit. They have, that's one thing that, we probably a little with over the last, so they still, and I was trying to hammer this home they still have capable shooters. So they're going to have nights like this. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with Kennesaw State, and the quality of the team that they were. But, even going back to the Verge thing a little bit, like Verge getting more shots I think, is the result of Verge making plays for other people, because it's a trickle down effect. When Verge gets to make plays for other people and other people get open shots, then, all of a sudden Verge is a little bit more open. So that's the way the offense is designed. That's ultimately how they want it to be. It's kind of one thing leads to another. You got to guard it somewhere. And it looked like a pretty good picture of that tonight. It was a definite, building block, I think, in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think some of those assists too are kind of fun. I mean, I know the assists add up no matter what, but kind of those look away, spin around assists that he had.
Oh yeah,
kind of a la Cookie Miller and Cam Mack of Husker point guards pass. Kind of fun to see him kind of put on a show out there. And Tamanaga doesn't mind putting on a little bit of a show after he hits a three, or that fast break steal that he got. Well, he just went up and stole the ball from that guy and took it all the way into the lid. As far as Tamanaga goes, he's very interesting because he got benched early from the game, and I want to get your thoughts again on this, or Hoiberg's thoughts on this, but I did want to ask you too, just about the overall philosophy of benching Tamanaga, benching McGowan's earlier. We heard that was going to happen coming into the game, and it really seemed to spark Tamanaga, but spark the team as a whole to take better shots.
Yes, it definitely, and it leads right into what Fred kind of said after the game. So this team, for as much as they get criticism for maybe not looking all that cohesive, and they certainly haven't over the last week. I think a lot of that's been warranted. I think that's a button that you press when you feel like they can handle it. Well, either that or when you feel like they're kind of out of other options. And maybe it was a little bit of both, or maybe it was one or the other. But Fred, the first thing he said tonight, he was like, look, I got to credit these guys. We had a really tough film session this week, and they didn't take it personally, and they showed up and took criticism and responded to it tonight, and even during the game, like you said, when guys are getting pulled out, I think it probably happened 3 or 4 times tonight. You got, and Fred said it was going to happen yesterday. It was like, hey, you're taking a step back 3, you're taking a bad look here, you're done. You see Fred goes immediately to the bench. Go, next guy, go. It could be a fragile deal there. And for a team that really nothing has gone well over the last 3 or 4 weeks here, and is struggling to kind of try and find themselves, to respond to that and not kind of that be the last straw and crumble, that's a pretty encouraging sign. That's a really good quality, I think, of this team. They seem to respond pretty well to that stuff, and that's certainly a good sign for I know people are wondering, like, man, is this thing going to fall apart? What's it going to look like when it blows up? These teams, and this team specifically, I don't know if they have that in their DNA. They'll keep showing up. They still lack a lot, but I think they're going to keep showing up, and that's certainly a commendable quality.
Yeah, Nebraska's starting to put some of the pieces together. Get the win tonight, 88-74 over Kennesaw State. I'd like to thank Connor Happer live out there from Pinnacle Bank Arena. I do want to ask you one more question, though. How many other assistant coaches in Nebraska, just program histories, football or basketball, could get away with that ugly green sweater and probably not have too much people talk about it other than Doc Sadler?
Doc came out before the game, and he was wearing his green shirt, the green shirt that you saw on TV there. And, I just thought this is an hour before the game. And I'm like, all right, Doc's just wearing a sweatsuit. He's going to go back in. He's going to go back in and put a quarter zip on or something like that. Nope. He did not do that. So I'm not sure if he quote unquote got away with it, but it is definitely a Doc move. To wear everybody else is wearing red. Everybody's wearing the same thing. It's all color coordinated, and Doc is wearing a green long sleeve T-shirt or sweatshirt or whatever it was. Pretty Doc.
Yeah, I love Doc's outfits. Even thinking back to when Trev was hired, I think it was when he was just kind of in his gym shorts and it was kind of a long shirt.
Yes. That was classic.
Yeah, Doc's always wearing something cool. I like Doc Sadler's style.
And they've ditched the suits this year, and Fred never wore a tie anyway because of his heart thing. But they ditched the suits this year, And usually the alternative is quarter zip and, or a polo.
Yeah.
Suck it in and have some slacks or whatever. Can't even bother Doc for that, which do you, man.
Well, he's got to be
all
comfortable if he's going to coach very well. I mean, that's common sense, isn't it?
Of course, naturally, yeah. The only thing he was missing was the slippers.
All right, Connor, we better let you go so we can get out of here and let everybody go to bed. But thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you tomorrow.
All right, there he goes, Connor Happer. You can catch him on Happer and Schaefer tomorrow, myself on Tom and Bach tomorrow, and actually DP's show. DP's still out on a little bit of a Christmas vacation, so myself and Nick Sainer will take that one over. But of course, turn in for early break. That's when things start off here on 93.7 The Ticket. There'll be lots of coverage for this Nebraska basketball win. Again, 88-74 over Kennesaw State. Nebraska improving to 6-7 on the season, led by Casey Tamanaga tonight with 18 points. Alonzo Verge, 16 points, 12 assists, and 7 rebounds facing the Huskers as well. But that'll wrap it up for me. Jake Bakoven, I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. I also like to say thank you on behalf of Big Sky over there, pushing the buttons, our producer and our board up, getting us out of here now. But again, thanks for joining us, and have a good night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric